Warcraft started back in 1994 as a real-time strategy game. So it was kind of this top-down fantasy game where you moved your soldiers around and fought for dominion over these lands of Azeroth.
I think it was kind of a sleeper. I think a lot of word of mouth, right? And people started getting excited about it and just went straight from War I straight into War II.
And then we created Warcraft 3. You know, that was probably the first game that we really focused on story in addition to gameplay.
I wanted Warcraft 3 to show that the Noble Alliance wasn't always all that noble. I wanted to show that the orcs had a real depth of culture, that they were a cursed people, but they once were very great, so that Warcraft would have a little more soul, you know, even as just a simple video game franchise, that it would have roots that could run very deep.
And then we put WoW out there, and the amount of momentum that that game picked up and the amount of people that came into it, it started happening so quick that it just killed our servers. We weren't prepared for it. All of a sudden, we went from this very small company to this huge company trying to feed this machine that we had created. We've always kicked around the ideas of making movies, but I'd say about 8 years ago, we really started thinking about this.
Legendary was really excited about Warcraft. They are approaching this with a sense of responsibility to all the players out there that love Warcraft.
It's an amazing world that the folks at Blizzard created. This is arguably the most successful entertainment property in history. We spent a lot of time geeking out with them about the care and feeding that went into these characters, and I think they felt from us a genuine love for the property and wanting to tell not a good story, but a great story in the universe that they've created.
We met with a lot of folks around Hollywood and had a lot of really good discussions about how could this take shape. But we found ourselves kind of at a crossroads, like, well, maybe it's just too hard to find the right story. Maybe it's just too difficult to find the right scale of production. And one day they bring in Duncan Jones.
You're not allowed to film.
We worked hard to get the right screenplay. And quite frankly, it was Duncan Jones who came to us with what was the missing ingredient. Duncan brought the fact that if you can play either side in Warcraft, let's make sure we tell the story from the point of view of both sides.
You think you're fearsome? Or children have pets more fearsome than you?
We're not trying to be fearsome, grown-up.
He speaks our language. I mean, he already knew our characters. You know, he knew our franchises.
Some of us still live, War Chief.
Warcraft as a universe is vast, and just working out what the film was going to be was a pretty massive task at the start of it. I wanted to make a film which worked and stood alone in its own right. And I think what makes it work is that it is a war movie that really allows the audience to empathize and understand what appears to be good people, or in Durotan's case, a good orc, to be thrown into conflict against humans who themselves seem to be good people.
We are in the business of taking audiences to new worlds and to allow them to have experiences that are relatable and emotional, and Warcraft seemed to lend itself perfectly.
It will warm you.
We were incredibly fortunate that we worked so close with Blizzard and with their concept artists to design something which works in a realistic setting, but still very much is familiar to those through the games. One of the things we were talking about is how in the game you get this sense of a small world. You can travel across it in a fairly short period of time. So we thought it would be fun to take that aesthetic and put it into film terms.
We wanted to embrace the world. We didn't want the Warcraft Azeroth world to be a mirror image of our own.
It's been pretty extraordinary, and I hope audiences enjoy it as much as I enjoy the film that we've made.
Here we go, ready, and action!
It's hard to put into words. You know, I spent my whole adult life working on this idea, and in some ways it can be terrifying, giving it into someone else's hands. But very quickly, I came to see that all the doubts were for naught. I'm just a total fan again. And after 20 years, that's a real gift, you know, to just see this stuff with new eyes, you know, see something new in it. It's a very special thing.